Welcome into this edition of Crunch Time here on ASTV Productions. I'm your host, Joe Hamilton, joined again by Trent Dardick. Trent, how you doing, man?
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. What did your day consist of?
My day, we just got back from a meet and greet with some of the Ambush fans. We were out at the Mellow Mushroom, a sponsor of the team. Some great pizza. We had a really good turnout. We were distributing some of the brand new posters for the team and things like that. It was good.
So now, when does the season start, and how are you getting ready for it? I know, again, we talked about, how you've been getting ready physically, but how have you been getting ready for the season, and when does that start?
Yeah, we actually just ran the NASL finals about 2.5 weeks ago-ish. So the season actually just buttoned up. We usually get going like in the fall, and then the season runs most of the winter. But it is a full-time job. So I'm doing a lot of outdoor soccer right now. The plan right now is to wait on Oklahoma City, and I'm going to spend a month in Madrid, July 18th. So that'll be a good way to also gear up for ambush season. But yeah, that's the current plan right now.
You got that Oklahoma league hopefully starting soon. Hopefully you get the call for that, because I know you were very excited for that.
Yeah, they've it's the same way the Ambush ran things. It's like Ambush didn't bring in any extra guys like for to help train and to help earn their own spot. So with Oklahoma City, I knew I'd be like fighting for a spot, but I was invited and everything like that. So they're waiting on the league to allow more guys in. They're really just not allowed to. And instead of waiting, I'm just gonna pull the trigger on my backup plan, which is second division in Madrid.
That's awesome. And playing soccer overseas, that's got to be fun for you. What is the difference? Is there a difference in between styles in each area?
Yeah. I mean, from a firsthand experience, I've only been in different areas around the States. I've only ever traveled as far as Puerto Rico. So this will be a new life experience for me. But I do know that Italian and Spanish soccer is a lot more free flowing, looking for more beautiful play. And then there's countries like, Australia and Germany, and maybe you could put England in that same realm where it's a lot more just like one directional, like they're just trying to score and try to make sure the other team doesn't score. There's not a lot of side to side and diagonal, if you know what I mean. So I think it fits my style. I'm Sicilian by nature, and especially learning indoor and a lot of the way futsal players playing with a lot of Brazilians has helped me a lot with playing beautifully and keeping the ball and doing the right, because we are putting a show on for the fans at the end of the day.
Yeah, you are. And while, fans take it seriously, it's all entertainment. So anything you can do to make that entertainment more fun, you do. So let's get to the juiciest news story of the day. The biggest. Albert Pujols has been DFA'd by the Los Angeles Angels. First of all,
before we get into it, could you? I've read some of the headlines, actually a lot of the headlines, and some comments. What's the reasoning? Is it just lack of production? I never got to the reasoning of it. We can talk all about the implications. I just want, what was the reason he got released?
Well, there were a couple things that I read. I again, this may sound bad for me. I'm not quite sure where I heard this, but he wanted to play last night against the left-handed pitcher in Yarborough against the Rays yesterday. That didn't happen. So I'm wondering if it's a rift between him and Madden, or if it is just production. You know, that Joe Madden, their manager. If it is just production. I mean, look, he's 41 years old. He doesn't have the same legs like he used to. He never really was a fast runner. But even then, he could get down the line. If you remember the last couple years in St. Louis, he could barely get down the line. I mean, it was tough to watch him run,
right,
to be honest with you. So, you had to see this coming a little bit, because the Angels have a budding superstar in Jared Walsh at first base. If you haven't checked this guy out, I would go and check his stats and look at some of his highlights, because he is a star in the making. So they want him to play. Plus, Shohei Ohtani, you got him pitching and hitting. When he's not pitching, he's DHing. So there would be no spot for him. So maybe that's another reason for it. It could be a couple things, but I'd have to, if the Angels came out with something. I know they came out with a statement and they said, we are grateful to have Pujols in an Angel uniform for half of his career. Okay, well, I'm baffled by this move a little bit. I am, just because you still need that bat. But then again, it's the American League, and they do things different over there. So, that being said, your thoughts on this?
I didn't want them just putting him out to pasture. You know, it kind of, I didn't think it was so heartless that I was like, oh, maybe a little dip in production and we'll just take him out behind the barn. Like, maybe it's because we're more emotionally attached than they ever became. But, I think the implications are huge. And I know you and I think Wags and Scott were on the chat as well when we said that, you know, some guys would like to see him and Yachty and Wainwright, you know, go off into the sunset. And I was kind of saying, I remember that I was saying I would never, I don't see the point of it. And I had to think about that today, because I wouldn't want to fight to get him here. I wouldn't want to pay him a lot. I wouldn't want to, like, you know, do battle with the Angels in contract negotiations. But if he's just released and he's just open, I mean, bring him in, you know, like, come in for a hug, big guy. Like, I think I welcome him in now. But I was a hater. I was like, old, he's not going to produce anymore. I was thinking of it from a competitive standpoint. I was like, he's not going to be that great for the team, but it's like, he's released, he's wide open. Let's get him.
Yeah, I'm in the sense that there isn't a DH here, and there's not much Pujols can do for you. Yes, there aren't many options on the bench for the Cardinals as currently constructed. I mean, have you looked at their bench? It's not pretty. I mean, especially when the biggest bat on that bench is Matt Carpenter, you're in trouble. But at the same time, I think Albert would want to go and play a little bit more. I mean, while he says he doesn't play for the records, he is 30-plus home runs away from 700 home runs. So, granted, he's 41, but if he's just hitting, I don't think there'd be a big issue there. Now, a couple of landing spots that he could possibly go to, because unless he retires, which I don't see it, I think he wants to go chase another ring. 2 potential landing spots. One being with his former catcher in Mike Matheny in Kansas City. That would be interesting in itself. The second landing spot with his former manager in Tony La Russa on the south side of Chicago. Could you see either of those happening?
Yeah. I get where you're coming from. He's got one of the things that I just thought of was he's got his charity that's still running here. I know they still run a golf tournament and everything, and it's been a lot of like Carlos Martinez and stuff, helping out with that in the recent years, and some of the old pros, like I think Scott Rowland was there one year. So it's like I think he does have some actual connection to the Lou. I don't know, that you make a good point about his former managers. It just depends on where his loyalties lie.
I could see him going to the south side of Chicago because of Tony La Russa. I mean, Tony La Russa was basically his manager for his first 11 years. So, and those were some of the best years. Those years in a Cardinal uniform. Actually, you know what? I got the stats right in front of me. All right, so the comparison here is quite amazing. As a Cardinal, he played 11 years. His average with the Cardinals was 328, 445 home runs, and an astonishing 1,329 RBIs. All right, so his 10 years with the Angels, 256 batting average, 222 home runs, and 783 RBIs. Safe to say the Cardinals got the better of the two. I mean, those aren't terrible numbers in Anaheim, but he had far better. I mean, yeah, you're comparing apples to oranges here. I saw what you were doing there. I mean, the Cardinals kind of tipped the scale there, if you know what I mean. He set the bar high for himself, and I knew he was going to decline at some point.
Yeah. Do you think that? Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Do you think that the Angels were expecting to get legendary status Albert Pujols?
I think so.
Do you think the Angels were expecting to get legendary status Albert Pujols when they got him?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Because why would you sign him to a 10-year, $253 million deal if you weren't looking for legendary status? That just makes no sense to me. Of course they did. It is what it is, but Albert was way better here. I'm glad we got the best out of him, and he's going to go in as a St. Louis in the Hall of Fame as a St. Louis Cardinal, no doubt in my mind.
I don't know, Joe. I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, it was nice. Hall of Famer before his name. Always Hall of Famer Albert Pujols, or future Hall of Famer. Do you remember what you thought of when we got rid of him the first time? Like, it was, what was he saying? I remember what I was thinking was like, if he's going to start to dip now, I don't mind losing him because, he may not be as productive. And a lot of people were hurt that he left. And, I always had that in the back of my mind. And, maybe I jinxed him, but that's the way it came out. Is like, yeah, he just.
Yeah, well, look. When he left, a lot of people in St. Louis were ticked off. As time grew on, that started to heal a little bit, and those hated feelings kind of went away because they knew, you know what, this isn't the same player. He comes back to St. Louis. This is the thing that got me. I remember going to the game when he came back in 2019. You would think it was an Angels home game every time Albert came up. I mean, it was unbelievable, the standing ovation. I knew he was going to get it the first time because, come on, first time Pujols has been at the plate in St. Louis in, I don't know, almost 9 years at that point. Yeah, I saw that coming, but every time he went up to the plate, that was surely amazing. And the home run on the Saturday game, that I cheered a little bit. I know a lot of people were like, are you kidding me? It's the other team. No, it's Albert Pujols, and I will always cheer for Albert Pujols. He was my boyhood idol. So, I mean, what's next for Pujols? We don't know.
It speaks to the level of. Yeah, I think it speaks to the level of St. Louis. We always talk about how we respect from the other team. But yeah, welcoming, home some of the former players as well. That's I know a lot of stadiums do that in all sports, but it's definitely interesting how different it is here. Because that's a very visceral memory that you just put me through.
Yeah. So, Albert Pujols, if he does indeed retire, what a great career. But I'm not opposed to seeing him for the rest of the year on a contending team. I think Albert can, even though he's not the hitter he used to be, he can still hit home runs. So I'll take that any day of the week. We got to get to a break here, and coming up here in Crunch Time, we'll be talking some more Major League Baseball. So come back here on Crunch Time.
Hey Crunch Time fans, my name is Graham Forsyth. I'm the host of Coffee with Graham and the Prospect Show on ASTV Productions. On Coffee with Graham, I talk to athletes, coaches, and whoever else involved in the amateur sports scene in Manitoba and Saskatchewan. And on the Prospect Show, I talk to the best young hockey prospects from around North America. You can catch all the coverage on ASTV Productions. You can catch Coffee with Graham on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10:30 a.m. Central Time. And for the Prospect Show, that show airs every Friday at 8 p.m. Central Time. Hope to see you there. Have a good one.
As always, check out some of the great shows on ASTV. They're all great shows, so be sure to check those out. Major League Baseball today, other than Pujols getting DFA'd, there was a lot of things that happened. I don't know if you saw what's been going on in this Yankees-Astros series, but the Astros have been taking it, especially Jose Altuve. This was his birthday today, and literally every time he came to bat, he'd get booed. I mean, it never failed. If you remember, Trent, go back to 2017, the American League Championship Series. After that series, it comes to find out that the Astros were accused of this cheating scandal, where they would bang trash cans, knowing what pitches are coming, whatever. So Yankees fans, didn't get to see the Astros, didn't get to see the Astros at all in 2020. Or in 2019, these came to light. So these came to light, and then 2020 happened, and they didn't go to New York. It was all centralized travel and everything else. So the first series in Yankee Stadium, you heard the boo birds for everyone, but Jose Altuve had the biggest mouth there. I don't know if you saw any of this series or remembered those allegations. But what were your thoughts if you did hear them? You there?
Yeah, if you could remind me of in the last week, I think, I remember reading something that was really rough for them, and I guess it was at the Yankee Stadium. But I do remember that scenario of the Astros, cheating and everything, and wondering how that was going to go down. Because growing up, I remember a lot of pine tar cheating and a few Sosa corked bats, especially during the Mark McGwire Sosa years.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like the new generation's scandal, I guess you could say. I'm not a pro baseball player, so I guess I can say that as a fan, I kind of like to see it. They get what they deserve. From an athlete standpoint, I get that it's, sometimes that comes from, more organizational culture and not just from the player himself or herself. But from a fan standpoint, it's kind of like good riddance. You cheated, you get what you deserve. Kind of how I feel about some of the Patriots stuff. Stealing the Rams video in 2001. I'm still bitter about that Super Bowl.
I mean, everyone's bitter at the Patriots. Nobody really likes the Patriots. Just like no one really likes the Astros anymore. I remember, when Jeff Luhnow went over there from St. Louis, When he went over there, I'm thinking, you know what? They're going to be a model organization. This is how every organization should be built and everything. I was, putting the Astros on a pedestal. This is how it should be done. After this, it's almost like, what the hell, man? I just don't understand how you can do this. Do what you did in the playoffs under good conscience. I just don't understand that. Maybe you can help me because as an athlete, yes, you want to get an edge any way you can.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, the saying goes is like, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. I think personal standpoint, just you know me as a person. It's like for somebody who strived for so many years to be a professional athlete, it's not about cutting corners ever. It's like, what more can I do? How much better can my diet be? How many, extra workouts and, things I can do? How much extra film can I study? Man, can't I just shake somebody's hand under the table and, get my deal that way? For somebody who's trying to do it, you don't know where your opportunity is going to come. So you just do everything right and you hope that eventually it sticks. At least that was my experience. So when you have something like an established organization cheating, it doesn't come from them trying to be the best. I feel like it comes from them having pressure of just so many years of not having top talent. I mean, yeah, it hurt for them for it to be against the Cardinals that I think you said it was a few years ago. I'm blanking on it. But it's the audacity it takes to cheat, especially when all the cameras are on you at that level. And then, these guys aren't stupid either. These guys live, eat, and breathe baseball. They know everything that goes on. Like, I think, I brought up the Rams thing. I'll bring it up again. It's like, if Marshall Falk can recognize that the defense is set up differently to perfectly match up against some plays that were never ran before that the Patriots did, it's like, you obviously knew what we were going to do before we did it. And I've been watching Last Chance U over the past, few months. And there was a situation where a coach got fired and sold the playbook to other JUCOs around the States. And it's just like, yeah, you could do that, but it's definitely not doing the right thing. And everybody sees it. And now they're kind of, with the Astros, they're getting their desserts. What do you think?
Yeah, the Astros, they're getting what they deserve. And my whole thing on this segment or this subject here is, how can you as an athlete in good conscience do this? I know you want to win. I get it. But for you to do this, you have to be some low-life human being to do something like this. You don't cheat to win. The saying, cheaters never prosper. Well, now you're getting to come up and Yankee fans have not forgotten. And they haven't forgotten for a full year during the pandemic. So, I'm sorry. You're screwed, Houston. You're screwed. All there is to say there. And
you
I don't
bring up
think
a good point. And
sorry, Trent, but
and
the thing is, I don't think it's. Go ahead. Okay, so sorry, we're having some connection issues, whatever. But
Zoom ears.
Yeah, no kidding. So where I'm going with this, I don't think it's just going to be the Yankees doing this. Every fan base. I mean, look at the Dodgers.
No,
they're probably going to have to go face the Dodgers in LA. The Dodgers feel like they were cheated.
It's just like the
It's just like the steroid era in your mind? How?
I mean, it puts an asterisk on it, just the same. Like, the fans don't want that stuff. It's, Pete Rose is still not in the Hall of Fame for that reason, for cheating.
Yeah, I get it. So, look, the Astros are going to get what's coming to them, and hopefully things can be forgotten because just remembering the report of spring training in 2020 before all this happened, it would have been a lot worse. Think about this. Think about if Yankee Stadium was filled to capacity. Just think about this. And the Astros were going in. Yeah. You know Yankee fans are brutal in low capacity. Just think if there was like 40,000 Yankee fans sitting at Yankee Stadium. That'd be a death nail for the Astros. And not a good way for Jose Altuve to spend his birthday, by the way.
Yeah, right.
Shoot.
I think I was going to expand on your point about, you don't see how these guys can cheat. It's like, you work so hard to get there, and then when you do something that's not the right thing to do, like, people don't forget that stuff. It's like, if you can relate it to business, even, you find out later on that guys like Steve Jobs was maybe, sort of dictatorial in his reign over Apple, right? You find out like maybe Mark Zuckerberg is kind of really got a tight fist around Facebook. Like, it comes out even when you're at the top of the game. Michael Jordan had that thing with The Last Dance. Like, people found out that, like, you kind of got to be, tough in the rear end to, like, be on your teammates and things like that. So it's like people are just finding out more as social media comes out, as like these stories get shared. So it's not like you can get away with stuff more and more. It's you're getting away with fewer and fewer things,
Exactly. The Cardinals finished off a 4-game series today against the New York Mets, and it was ugly. I mean, the Cardinals, yes, they were up 1-0 through the 5th inning, and it seems like the wheels just fell off. The Cardinal pitching walked. The last time I checked, it was 8 hitters, 8 batters.
No.
It was no. Gant walked 6. Yeah. Actually, there were 8 walks in the ball game. 2 walks after Gant got out. So they lost this game 4-1 today. It could have been a lot worse. They had a doubleheader split yesterday. It was good to win that first game of the doubleheader because if not, the Mets would have taken 3 of 4, and that's not what the Cardinals needed at this point in time. They are still in first place by a game. Did you get to watch any of these games or see any highlights? What were your recollection of this series?
Yeah, I caught up with it. I'm real glad we got to spank the Pirates because, it would have been a really big blow to the heart to be losing so many games in a row. Yeah, I'm glad we split the doubleheader yesterday with the Mets. They looked that was so exciting yesterday. So to go, from such an exciting game to kind of getting beat, pretty, not easily, but pretty handedly, both, the last 2 games is rough. But, you can just chalk that up to the ups and downs of the long baseball season. At least with the Cardinals, they've always been able to, keep steady, keep consistent, if you look in the long run. So I've never, I don't think I think of it as they're starting, a losing streak all of a sudden. I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, they'll be fine. This is clearly still the best team in my mind in the NL Central. And Lester chimes in. Thank you for that, Lester. When I stopped watching it, it was at 8 walks. Now it's the game ended with 11 walks by Cardinal pitching. And you're going to have games like that. It's an 162-game season. Your bullpen has been good. It's going to have a couple clunkers here and there. I'll take it. You know what? I'd rather it be early in the season than later in the season because you're going to need those guys to produce late in the season. So they got a 3-game series against, get this, Nolan Arenado's former team, the Colorado Rockies. That should be interesting.
Yeah. It's Stan Kroenke's team, and I I don't remember the last time we've lost to the Rockies my entire life. So I hope we sweep them. We need it.
Yeah, we need to sweep them. That's for sure. Sweeping the Pirates to start with was huge. You're right there. So let's get to the Major League Baseball scoreboard here. You have the Houston Astros taking down the New York Yankees in the Bronx 7-4. You have the Philadelphia Phillies shutting out the Milwaukee Brewers 2-0. You have the Boston Red Sox beating the Detroit Tigers 12-9. Texas Rangers 4, Minnesota Twins 3. That game went to 10 innings. The New York, of course, the aforementioned New York Mets beat the St. Louis Cardinals 4-1. The Cleveland Indians shut out the Kansas City Royals by the score of 4-0. The Toronto Blue Jays knock off the Oakland Athletics 10-4. The Atlanta Braves beat the Washington Nationals 3-2. The Miami Marlins beat the Arizona Diamondbacks by a score of 3-1. And one game going on right now, the Los Angeles Angels are on top of the Tampa Bay Rays in the bottom of the third. That game is at 1-0 Los Angeles. So, pretty big night in baseball, that is for sure. When we come back, we will be talking some NHL hockey, some issues going on within the league. We'll get to that right after this here on Crunch Time.
Welcome to Pilot Mound Hockey Academy, your world-class academic and hockey training facility created to maximize each student's athletic and academic potential. Blackjack Stewart Arena, home of the Buffalo, is inside the 46,000 square foot complex, as well as a curling rink and other facilities. The students have a unique combination of successful, well-rounded education at Pilot Mound Collegiate Institute and the professional hockey training in an encouraging community. The years of experience of on-ice coaching propel our students to the next level, both mentally and physically, in a professional environment.
Welcome back to Crunch Time here on ASTV Productions. Joe Hamilton alongside Trent Dardick. And Trent, what's been going on with the Washington Capitals and the New York Rangers is nothing short of drama at its best. Tom Wilson, if you don't know this story, Tom Wilson was fined $5,000 for his antics on the ice against Pavel Buchnevich and Artemi Panarin. Artemi Panarin is going to miss the rest of the year. He was taken by his hair, believe it or not, thrown on the ice, and then punched. This is a guy who's a repeat offender. What are your thoughts on the lack of punishment there? Or do you think that punishment fit the crime?
I don't know. You can, if you think the NHL is all of like an old boys club. I feel because what I see is that some of the front office staff and managers and maybe even to some extent owners have been players in the league, and hockey is one of those sports that has gotten that started pretty violent and the game. So I only saw it as like a continuation. And like some of those guys are saying like, well, we fought, more back. They're always like egging guys on like back in our day. And, this guy's an enforcer, like he fought everybody, he never stayed out of the box. So like, I feel like it's like, egging on like a caged dog. Like, don't you want to fight? Don't you want to fight? Don't you want to fight? And then every little, disagreement turns into a big thing. Soccer's a lot of the same way. There's high passions and fights a lot of times and pushing and shoving. And I never, I know that you really get to a certain level that you want to get to if you're that player that is always causing problems. In soccer, it's a red card, an ejection. And the thing in box of hockey, like, doesn't hurt your career. Like, you're going to have less in contract negotiations and maybe for, in going into a future club or organization, manager or coach doesn't want you because you're a troublemaker. Like, I know hockey is a pretty violent, that's part of culture, and that's why it got to the point it did. But yeah, I don't know about how. I think they should have been punished more. Definitely, I just don't. Yeah, I don't think much changed though. That's just been the style and culture of NHL.
Well, and this was the amount allowed by the CBA. So I totally understand that aspect of it. But a guy that, is a repeat offender should be suspended for a few games, at least in my mind. So going on this timeline, the night after everything happened, you get a line brawl to start the game. And everybody's fighting. It's like you said, hockey is like, there's a violent nature to it. And I was hoping to see the New York Rangers kind of stick up for their guy. You know what I mean? If you have not seen Artemi Panarin play, he is one of the rising stars in this league, if not a star already. So kudos to them for, filling up the penalty box. I saw a picture, Trent, I'll send that to you later, of an entire line of New York Ranger players, an entire line of Washington Capitol players in the penalty box. They're all, the penalty boxes on both ends were full.
In the box, yeah, I saw that.
And there were a lot of social distancing jokes with those. We'll kind of leave those aside, but and then the Rangers come out with a statement, kind of questioning the head of. They come out with a statement questioning the head of player safety in George Peros, former player, former goon, by the way. Just like to throw that out there, former goon. So he's been in some violent altercations himself. Basically saying he's incompetent for the job and should be handled in a certain way. Well, the NHL didn't like that. So the NHL fined the Rangers $250,000 for that. Now, I don't see any justice here. I don't see any justice there. Maybe you see a little bit more than me, but I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I know when you fine a player or a group, is that it does, hurting somebody's pockets does make them hurt. The more and more money they make, though, the less and less that hurts, and the more and more likely they're going to do it again. So they would have to, I think suspending is a better punishment, because I think a player would play than, have his pockets hurt a little bit. And that, that's completely my opinion, but I would much rather play, and then take a slap on this fun. What about you?
Yeah,
You don't think so?
Look, I understand you sticking up for your employees. I mean, this is a big thing on, sticking up for your employees. It has everything to do with that. Now, I'm going to read this statement, and you tell me if this is punishable. All right? The New York Rangers are extremely disappointed that Capitals forward Tom Wilson was not suspended for his horrifying act of violence last night at Madison Square Garden. Wilson is a repeat offender with a long history of these types of acts, and we find it shocking that the NHL and their Department of Player Safety failed to take the appropriate action and suspend him indefinitely. Wilson's dangerous and reckless actions caused an imminent injury to Artemi Panarin that will prevent him from playing again this season. We view this as dereliction of duty by the NHL head of player safety, George Peros, former goon, and believe he is unfit to continue in his current role. That seems pretty bold for the Rangers to put out a statement like that, right?
Yeah, I read that. Look, it's kind of like airing your dirty laundry. to the public, and that's just the way I see it. I mean, that's something you send to the league. That's not something you put out on Twitter. You know, I feel like it's admirable to want to make a change that way, because the bigger these leagues get, you are messing with public opinion. It becomes more political, which is the opinion of the public. So I don't know what their real end goal was with that, because the public doesn't ultimately get to decide. This is a league matter, and from a fan standpoint, they're almost just like being entertained, like watching it on ESPN over and over again. Like, they don't get to decide. That's not their jurisdictions. So I don't know if you would. I've been, in my experience, I've been around players and different people around an organization that'll post stuff, and it's very damaging. You wouldn't post pictures of you partying with the wrong people on your Facebook and your Instagram. So I don't know why this is any different. This is like saying, we know that you can't change anything, so we're going to come straight to you, the people, so that you can then put your pitchforks and torches to the league. I don't real, just from a diplomatic sense, I don't see that as accomplishing much. I do get that they're trying to protect their players. They're trying to make a point. But I think the point's made from everybody talking about it, from anybody that's got half a brain. They get that the point's there. They would, of course, you want to protect your player. I don't know. You?
Well, I agree to a certain extent. You need to protect your employees, not just the players. You have higher ups working for you, so you got to protect them. So I say you got to handle that stuff in the background, man. You can't just go out there and say this stuff in public, or you're gonna get in big time trouble. And they're lucky they're just fined. So on top of this, one of the other guys that Tom Wilson roughed up in that same incident with Artemi Panarin just got suspended for 1 game for high-sticking Anthony Mantha of the Washington Capitals. For high-sticking him, but yet you're going to give George – this is the shit that I don't understand. You're going to suspend Pavel Buchnevich for high-sticking somebody, but you're not going to suspend someone who roughed him up and punched him in the face while he's down. Okay, that makes total sense, NHL.
The retaliator on it gets noticed by the ref, right?
Yeah. It's never the instigator, right? I mean, hey, in soccer, it's the same way, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I don't like to argue with a ref's calls. I've the honor, if you call it that, of reffing a kid's game a couple times, and I've started to empathize a little bit. It's like you just want to see a safe, clean game. Maybe as a player, I let them be a little rougher than normal refs would, but I get it now. It's like the refs don't really dictate a lot of the game. They don't have any personal body, at least when I ref. That's the gist I got. They're so focused on calling the game correctly that I don't think there's much room for there. That released a little bit of a thought of mine that the refs were somewhat biased. I don't know. Did you ever have that thought that the refs were on one per player side as opposed to the other?
Yeah. I mean, I've had this sense for a long time that refs were against the St. Louis Blues. Never understood why. And maybe I was wrong. Maybe I looked at it from being a one-sided fan. But a lot of people are like, man, they don't want the Blues to win or nothing. I'm sure being a Blues fan, you've heard that same thing, right?
Yeah, many times.
So, yeah, this is a hairy situation. Hopefully things get handled soon. Hopefully at some point Tom Wilson gets his comeuppance and he gets banned from the league. I hate to say it. He's one of those guys that is a rough and tumble guy that is actually a good hockey player. You've heard of the word goon, and goon is what Tom Wilson is, but he can also play the game. If you just play the game with the within the constraints of the rules, you're fine. You're a good player as it is. I'm not saying be a total wuss, because yes, I know hockey is rough. You got to stick up for yourself, but there's a certain fine line there in my mind.
Yeah.
So that's just my
flirting with assault. Because you wouldn't do that on the street. There has to be a line somewhere. These are at the end of the day, some of these games are kids' games. They're trying to hit a puck into a net. Like, for me, it's a ball into a net. It's just a kids' game, pretty much. So it's like the violence is sort of man-made. It's sort of something that came from high passions. It's not like in the rule book, as much as the NHL would like to, brag that it is. It just that's not the point of it.
Yeah, that is not the point of it. So before we go to break here, let's get a check of the scoreboard. There was one game postponed tonight, and that was Tampa Bay and Florida. The other games are as follows. The Boston Bruins beat the New York Rangers 4-0. Chicago Blackhawks beat the Carolina Hurricanes 2-1. You got the New Jersey Devils beating the New York Islanders. New York Islanders 2-1. You have the Pittsburgh Penguins doubling up the Buffalo Sabres 8-4. You have the Toronto Maple Leafs beating the Montreal Canadiens 5-2. So, again, hopefully things get handled. Hopefully Tom Wilson gets his comeuppance soon. Maybe gets jacked in the face once or twice. I'd like to see it, but it remains to be seen. But when we come back here on Crunch Time, we'll be talking about the Aaron Rodgers situation, and this is getting worse and worse by the day. So stick with us right here on Crunch Time. Welcome back to Crunch Time here on ASTV Productions. Joe Hamilton alongside Trent Dardick. Trent, I don't know if you've been reading the news lately, but the relationship between the Green Bay Packers and quarterback Aaron Rodgers, not so good.
No, drafted another quarterback, didn't they? So I feel like the writing was on the wall for a while. Same treatment they gave to Favre, right?
Yeah, same treatment they gave to Favre. And there's to be honest with you, there you can draw comparisons between the two careers because again, great quarterbacks that were drafted instead of drafting a receiver, which they needed. And look, Aaron Rodgers only has one true threat in Green Bay, and that is Devontae Adams. And the fact they did go out and get a receiver in this draft, but they didn't in the first round. You needed to get a receiver first and foremost. If you want your superstar, all-star quarterback to stick with you, get him some help, man. He's won a Super Bowl. He's won multiple MVPs. Give the guy another damn weapon. That's all I ask. But the thing is, the Green Bay Packers won't. And there's rumor now that Aaron Rodgers is telling all free agents that he's not going back to Green Bay. This is not going to end well, is it?
Yeah. Doesn't look like it. And we were just talking about, airing your dirty laundry. I mean, that's not the way to go about it, first of all. But second of all, it's like I don't know. He's been given a great opportunity, and he's done a lot. He's argued that he's done more, with the pieces that he's had. I would argue that. I think he's lifted the Packers up. I think he might be in a better situation elsewhere. He has never had that look on his face that he was happy the whole time he was there. From playing, it just never was there. He never seemed like he was having fun. And yes, you can see that in retrospect and might think, oh, that's just the way he looks. But it's like, now that you know that he's unhappy, he said it. It's like, oh, that makes sense. He's never looked happy. So it's like, if you go somewhere where he could kind of loosen up a little bit, you never know. That's kind of like how, the rumor is that Julian Edelman is not really retiring. He's just scared to tell Belichick that he's going to, because, he'd be happier there. It's kind of the same attitude. It's like, he is a superstar. He's, Aaron Rodgers is a force you reckon with. He does some place where he feels, well received. Don't you think?
Yeah, I think so too. And the fact that you brought up Edelman was perfect there, because Julian Edelman, I believe, is still going to Tampa. You kind of cut out when you said where he'd go, but I'm guessing you said Tampa because, again, Tom Brady, whatever. But a couple of the teams that didn't draft quarterbacks, or a team that didn't draft a quarterback in the first round that intrigues me, is Denver. Because they have former Mizzou quarterback Drew Lock, and he hasn't exactly shown that he's a adequate enough NFL starting quarterback. Do you think maybe that's a possibility? I mean, I think it could work, or this is another option.
I don't know.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. So here's another option. The San Francisco 49ers, they did draft a quarterback, and that's Trey Lance. But his wife, not wife, his fiance is an actress. And he lives out in California in the offseason. Do you think Aaron Rodgers would want to spend his last couple of years in the league, or at least the last couple of years of this contract with Green Bay, would he want to spend on the West Coast? Albeit maybe with Vegas or one of the California teams.
I think that a caliber athlete choose where he wants to go, kind of like how Pujols went to LA to be around nicer weather, I guess, or I feel like you get to choose as you make it up there with the icons. So I think he could. With the Broncos, though, I got to side on my Mizzou boy, though, because I saw Drew Lock do some amazing things. And then obviously he's going to have some growing pains in the league. Totally understandable. Maybe more so from a homeboy than from, or I've met the guy, we've gone parties a couple times. So it's like, I knew that, watching his career, that he was getting better. And I was patient enough to give him time. I think the Broncos might be in the same boat. If they're not drafting anybody, yes, they could pick up Rodgers. I'm not saying that they could. I'm just saying from the system they have, it looks like they're going to stick with. If you stay with Drew Lock, you see that he's gotten better. He's done better than Blaine Gabbert in the league already. He's done better than James Franklin play a little in the league. It's like, I think out of Mizzou, you do get this, every 4 years or so, a real good player, a Sean Weatherspoon type player. You do get somebody who can handle it. I think Drew is one of those guys. And, I'm putting my bets in and saying that they're not going to get Rodgers and that this is their plan, because I do think that this kid could go far. I just think he needs a bigger chance. I think once he really got comfortable with the Mizzou offense, which is really sort of similar to the Broncos, sort of run and gun, lean on the running back when you need a break, when your arm needs a break. That's really all the way Mizzou and Denver are similar in my mind. That's the way I see it. What about you?
Now that you say that, he's got a good running back in Melvin Gordon. So I'm in the sense that maybe he can do some things, but he just, to me, the reason why I said what I said is because he hasn't shown me that yet. I know he's a young quarterback in the league too, but excuse me. Playing up in Denver is a whole different animal. So who knows if he can handle that altitude. That I'm not talking bad about him as a person. I'm just talking about the altitude issues. I mean, that's plagued a lot of athletes.
Yeah. I am just being, from St. Louis and Mizzou's our team. I would say that people here, myself included, have been a little patient with him. And if you can be a little patient and, past that a little empathetic, yeah, it's going to take some growing pains. I see that he has gotten better. He's been able to handle it, been able to throw to the correct routes. And that's really what an NFL quarterback does, especially when you got a great running core and, they're focused on defense. If I'm being honest, it's like, there were the years of Von Miller and then what? So I'm still waiting on their defense. I want the Broncos to succeed. I think they deserve better.
They do. I remember that defense when they went to the Super Bowl against Seattle. Well, yeah, that happened. But, that defense has been notoriously good. You have Von Miller on that defense, and he's been a big-time stalwart in the NFL for a long time. So, yeah, I'd like to see them succeed. I'm a Packer fan, of course, but I've always come to like Denver. I don't know what it is. I think it's more of the uniform, the logo for me. So before we get out of here tonight, I got to ask you.
Okay.
Have you ever picked a team based on the logo? Like based on the logo and then figure out about players later? Like, I'm going to follow this team. This is a cool logo.
Besides St. Louis City SC?
Yeah, besides No, I like that. But I mean, I'm talking like existing now. They're going to exist in 2 years. So
the closest I've ever been was when the OKC Thunder came from Seattle Supersonics. And that was, for some reason, right in the time that I was picking a team in my head of who I wanted to follow consistently, not just as following the whole league. Because, St. Louis had the Hawks, and the only banner in the Atlanta Hawks Stadium is the St. Louis Hawks banner. So but that wasn't close enough, I guess, to me. And I finally, playing in OKC, I finally got my photo snapped in front of the Thunder Arena. I just asked some random dude to take my picture. I was like, this is my favorite team. That's the closest it was. Sort of a blind, like, it's really close. I don't want to root for the Bulls because it's from Chicago. The Memphis Grizzlies were pretty bad at the time.
Indiana.
It could have been any past 20 years. No, at that time, they weren't that great. So it was Indiana was going to be the other team. I floated between looking at. So I gave them the Colts. I've actually been watching more Colts since the Rams left. I think it's the connection to Jim Irsay. He's a general manager that jumped from the Rams to the Colts. So I've actually been watching the Colts since the Rams left. So I've gone Indy and OKC, but that was the closest I went to. Then the logo is just like, they're new. They're a team that's close by. That's not Chicago.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching tonight. This has been a great show. Thank you, Trent, for hopping on. I'm sure we'll do this again soon. It's always been fun every time we've gotten a chance to do this. For Trent Dardick, I'm Joe Hamilton. Thank you guys for watching tonight. Be sure to do the right thing so we can get back to doing what we love doing. Until tomorrow night, have a good night.